Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to be discussing tribal environmental justice and its implications for the proposed Dakota Access Pipeline project. First we're going to give some background on Native American and Indigenous peoples' environmental justice. Then we're going to look at a case study, which is the Dakota Access Pipeline. Then we're going to conclude based on the evidence provided, and then after that we're going to wrap up with some policy recommendations based on our analysis. So tribal issues are often overlooked by traditional environmental justice frameworks, and though strides have been made in the field, Native Americans have often been overlooked. Sociological researchers Dr. Lori M. Hunter and PhD student Jamie Vickery from the University of Colorado have conducted a meta-analysis on the inequality of Native American representation in environmental justice scholarship. They found that Native American environmental justice issues differ from those faced by other minority and low-income groups, and tribes are often lumped in with other environmental justice communities due to misconceptions and a general lack of knowledge and understanding of what tribal life entails and the specific problems faced by Indigenous peoples. In today's society, treatment of Native Americans by non-natives has remained almost entirely exploitative in nature. Tribes face constant threats upon their land, water, and other natural resources. One of the contingencies which makes environmental justice for tribal nations distinct is that tribal nations have a sovereign right to govern their own land. Therefore, enforcement of U.S. EPA regulations on reservation lands may be considered an infringement on tribal sovereignty. For this reason, defining environmental justice within tribal circumstances can be quite convoluted. The traditional environmental justice framework becomes quite ineffective when considering the sovereignty of tribal nations. To adjust for the critical factor of tribal sovereignty, Professor Sarah Krakoff has proposed a new definition of environmental justice which can be applied to tribal nations. She defines environmental justice for tribes as being the achievement of tribal authority to control and improve the reservation environment. In order for an issue to be considered an environmental justice, it must meet both parts of this definition. So it must infringe on the achievement of tribal authority to control the environment, that is, infringe on sovereignty, and it must also infringe on their ability to improve the reservation environment. So it must degrade the environment. So let's go ahead and look at the Dakota Access Pipeline. The controversy over the Dakota Access Pipeline ties back to a very long history between the Sioux Nation and the United States. In 1851, the Treaty of Fort Laramie established the northern boundary of the Sioux Reservation as the Heart River. In 1868, another Sioux treaty moved the Standing Rock Reservation boundary to its current location. Article 16 of this treaty states that the land in between these two boundaries shall be considered unceded Indian territory. This land dispute is very significant in the DAPL project because the proposed route goes through this unceded Indian territory. In 1978, the Indian Claims Commission decided that the Sioux were entitled to 100 years of interest from the seized land, and a 1980 Supreme Court decision in U.S. v. Sioux Nation reaffirmed the obligation of the federal government to compensate the Sioux monetarily. Where the Sioux believe that they still have rights to the land, project supporters are firm in that none of the pipeline technically crosses Standing Rock Reservation land as recognized by the federal government. And while this may be true, the proposed route crosses underneath Lake Oahe, which is a vital resource for the Standing Rock Reservation. Disaster within this area would be absolutely devastating for tribal water supplies. The proposed route of the pipeline also crosses 1,000 feet of government-owned land near the Standing Rock Reservation. Because the route crosses federally owned land, the National Environmental Policy Act requires that the EPA prepare a full environmental impact statement before the DAPL can begin construction. In 2017, the Obama administration halted further progress until a full environmental impact statement could be prepared. Almost immediately after his inauguration, Trump issued a memorandum which forced the abandonment of the obligation of the EIS. Now that we have the evidence, let's go ahead and analyze this case under Sarah Krakoff's framework for environmental justice. Let's go ahead and break this definition up into its two respective parts. Have these actions infringed on the Standing Rock Sioux Nation's sovereignty? The federal government ignored the right of the Sioux to participate in and receive an environmental impact statement. Construction of the project may pose an immense risk to tribal sustenance lifestyle activities such as hunting, fishing, and overall water quality, yet they do not have legal proof of this risk because their rights to an EIS were blatantly dismissed. The Trump administration's violation of NEPA clearly impacts tribal authority to control the reservation environment. The legal sovereignty of the tribe has undoubtedly been infringed upon. Now moving on to the second requirement of the definition. Has or does the DAPL project impact the achievement of tribal authority to improve the reservation environment? Since the project may pose a serious threat to the water quality of Lake Oahe, the DAPL project has the potential to fulfill this section of framework. framework. However, since a full EIS has not been prepared, there's no way to legally prove this. Therefore, a full environmental impact statement must be prepared in order to provide the tribes with legal proof that the reservation environment will be degraded as a result of this project. So, has an environmental injustice occurred? From looking at this evidence and analyzing it under Sarah Krakoff's framework, I would state that yes, the DAPL project is an environmental injustice for the Standing Rock Sioux Nation. Wrapping up our case study, I'd like to go ahead and share some. More tribal nations should be given TAS status, and what TAS status is treatment as a state. And so basically the EPA is allowed to designate these areas. The tribe can set water quality standards within this select area, and they're allowed to impose those quality standards on non-native peoples which fall in this area. I propose that the EPA require that all American industry that would like to develop on Native American land must develop a community-based agreement with the sovereign nation, and within this community-based agreement, the sovereign nation is allowed to list the things that they want out of this project and the things that must be met in order for this industry to develop on their land or to develop around their land. This allows the Native Americans to have a voice in the projects that are going to affect them. The U.S. needs to make sure that these nations can be involved in the collection of their own data in order to promote community-based policing, to reinforce these agreements that they've made with the industry. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.